What's going on? Sean Don is back with another technical analysis. Here we have Marissa. Scimeca, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm not exactly sure, but here we have Marissa throwing the weight. Let's take a look. Nice simple one wind, one turn.
There you go.
One more time.
Right foot, lift it.
Okay,
you go.
overall a pretty solid throw. Your dad sent me 4 different throws to check out, and I think this was overall the most solid. So I think this is going to be the best thing to build off of moving forwards in terms of everything I'm going to tell you. So that's why I picked this one. Like I said, overall pretty solid. So if you watch any of my videos, Marissa or Vincent, her father, if you're watching this, you should know that I'm generally not a fan of winding the weight, but if you're only just doing one turn, you kind of have to. Otherwise, you can't really get it going at all. So that being said, definitely try to move on to at least 2 turns, if not 3 turns. I know it sounds like it might be really hard right now, but hopefully at the end of this video, everything that I'm going to tell you will make things much easier, and the throw itself will just feel so much more simple. Hopefully, so learning 2 or 3 turns will be that much easier. And then if you can do 2 or 3 turns, then you can do a sling start, and then things just get that much easier, hopefully. But that's, it's always speculation. It doesn't always work out that way, but just food for thought. So let's get to it. Let's break it down. So come through the wind. Shifting back over to the left side. Pretty good. Nice bent legs. One thing right off the start is don't let this left arm, you see this left elbow reaches up over the head. Generally, I'm not a fan of that. I like to think about, so this left arm, your right arm, will come up over the head, but the left elbow needs to kind of come, at this point, needs to kind of come across the body, not up. So at this point, think about kind of holding this left arm just in front of the chest, the sternum. Don't let the elbow rise up so much, because that kind of throws you off balance. As you can see at this point right here, you're pulled forward onto your toes. Ideally, so you can see you start on your heels, and then as the ball comes back around, you get pulled forward to your toes. Not a very stable position, and it's not very easy to connect with the ball. As you can see, because the elbow comes so high, the ball is going to drop very low. So this is what I would call a steep orbit, and generally a steep orbit in the weight throw is very hard to manage because it is so short and so heavy, and it's just overall makes for a hard throw. So like I said, in this wind, try to keep this elbow and think about, like I said, bringing it across, not up. As you do so, also think about turning your shoulders back to the right. You can see you kind of do that job, or do a little bit of that, but you could do a little bit of a better job. But I think if you fix this left elbow and keep it so you can get it coming across the chest rather than up over the head, or you can see the extension of your shoulder, it'll make things way easier. You'll be able to turn back your shoulders a little bit more, and you'll be able to connect with the ball earlier. Outside of that, after this whole elbow rising thing, really focus on keeping your hands up. I know throwing the hammer and the weight is all about relaxing your arms as much as possible, but it's also about putting the ball in a position for it to be accelerated effectively. And like I said, ball drops, it's generally just not a great path for it to accelerate, or for the force to be applied. So if you can keep your hands up, meaning once again, at least keep them about chest height, sternum height, keep your hands up, and then push the ball flat across. Like imagine if there was a dinner table right here in front of you. Take your right arm and just, if you were to sweep everything off that table in one swipe, you'd be pushing flat across that table. That's what you kind of want to think about when you're throwing the weight. Otherwise, once the ball drops down like this, there's really not much that you can do in terms of pushing the ball. Most of it's going to be coming from pulling the left side, which you can kind of see you do a little bit of. So you need to keep your hands up, like I said, sternum height, or even think about keeping them up shoulder level, because with the weight, you're never going to be quite where you want. So like if you think sternum height, you're going to be about belly button height. If you think belly button height, you're going to be hip height. So maybe you think about, like I said, trying to keep your hands up shoulder height, and then really think about extending this right arm out more to the right. Ideally, your right arm would be 100% straight at 270, meaning the right side of the circle for the thrower, or the camera left side. If 0 is directly at the back of the circle, 180 directly being into the sector, and then 90 being off to the left of the thrower, or the camera right. Try to extend this right arm completely as much as possible out to 270. That way you can connect earlier. With your hands, if you keep your hands up and you connect earlier and extend that right arm out more, it's going to feel slower initially, but it's going to feel much more simple. The flatter the orbit is, the easier it is to do everything in the throw. The steeper it is, the more complicated it is, and that's why in some of the other throws that your dad sent me, those throws were a little bit less stable, is one way to put it. Not quite as clean, I suppose. So if you extend that right arm out more, keep it up more, it won't drop as much. As you can see, it comes down. Ball's about knee height, even a little bit lower. And because of that, you can see your right leg doesn't really turn too much, and you see this left leg really shift back and straighten out and push this hip away. So this hip right here, as the ball comes through 0, this hip needs to stay where it is. This shoulder and this hip and this heel make up what I call the left side axis. It's a very arbitrary term, but it essentially needs to be a post for which everything moves around. So what needs to happen is, as the ball comes through about 0, you need to get this left heel down. So once again, the steeper orbit will pull you forwards, and it will prevent you from getting that heel down. So if you flatten things out, you get that heel down, you'll have a nice solid base to rotate around. As of right now, your left heel does not come down until the ball is already past 0, which is why it probably feels like you don't always connect with the ball. You don't always feel the ball super early. You don't feel that tension. So try to get that left heel down a little bit sooner, along with that flatter orbit. And then what you need to do is use this right leg. So you need to push off this right leg. Think about pushing yourself laterally over to this left side. Use that right leg to push you over here, and also use this right leg to propel the ball out to the left as much as possible. The flatter it is, the easier it's going to be to do that, and the easier it's going to be to do that, the more efficient the throw will be. But like I said, right now this left side shifts back quite a bit, and the left side kind of pulls the ball around rather than the right side propelling it out to the left. Ooh, excuse me. Otherwise, you can see there's a little tension in that right arm because it isn't quite extended all the way, because the left side is doing most of the work. And then there's what goes up must come down, so the ball comes down through 0, and then it's going to rise up on this left side. And you can see, once again, you can see the tension in the arms. Try to relax the arms and send the ball forwards. So think about throwing the ball directly. Once again, back to that tabletop analogy, throw the ball out flat to 180 instead of lifting up right here. That's kind of doing too much at the wrong times. And the ball reaches its super steep high point, and when you catch, you almost catch a little bit too shallow. This right foot needs to kind of get more, just about a bit. You can see, so if you drew a left line, or a line from your left leg down to the ground, that's about where your right foot should be for a more stable finish. You come down a little bit too early. I mean, you catch the ball in a nice position, but it's just this right leg is a little bit too close to your left, so you're probably a little bit off balance. And you can even see how tight your feet are. It's going to be impossible to really get your hips through. So if your right foot was just a little bit more even, meaning in line laterally, but then also just a little bit more out towards shoulder width approximately, you'd be just a little bit more powerful. You'd be able to use your legs a little bit more. So a little bit wider catch stance, a little bit more around, and then but I mean, like, this is the one throw that you really hit a nice finish on. But like I said, because the right foot is so staggered, it's so far back from the left, and also so tight in relation to the left, very close in this view, but then also if we were to look at a side view, you'd see that your left foot is probably almost completely in front of your right foot. Because of that, you can't quite get your hips through. Alright, so what's going to happen is you don't get full extension. You do a really good job of compensating, and like you get as much out of it as you can, but as you can see, your hips aren't quite fully extended as the ball is about to exit, or as you're about to release the ball, I suppose. But you do a really good job sticking it. And then you can see this left leg get pulled forward, and that's because this right leg is trying to do everything it can to work out towards the sector, but that left leg is blocking it because it is so far back behind the right foot. So that's pretty much all I got for you. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll run through it one more time for you. So like I said, don't let this elbow rise so much. Keep it coming across the body. Keep your hands up off the wind. Reach out to the right side, push it flat around, and use this right leg. Send the ball left, and then really let the ball pull you forward. And step and release. Have that more shoulder width stance. And yeah, I think if you could just work on those things that I'm telling you about, specifically, through the winds and off the wind through the entry, you'd be able to do 2 turns no problem. The biggest thing when it comes to doing more turns in the weight throw is just keeping it flat, keeping the orbit flat, not letting the ball drop and not letting the ball rise too much. So hopefully that helps you out. If anybody out there would like a technical analysis of their own, go to SeanDonnelly.biz, go to the services page, in-depth technical analysis, and sign up, because that time of year, weight throw championship season and hammer season is starting out. So sign up now. Would love to help you guys out. All right. Thanks for watching. Sean Don. Peace now.